Welcome everyone to this explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here today. We're going to take something that, let's be honest, looks incredibly intimidating to the untrained eye, and we're breaking it down into pure, actionable logic. If you've ever opened a trading chart loaded with the BBMA strategy, Bollinger Bands and moving averages, you've probably felt like you were staring at a chaotic bowl of colorful spaghetti, right? But today, our goal is to completely transform that visual chaos into a crystal clear, step-by-step path to finding what we call the A-plus golden setup. We're stripping away the noise and giving you a structured visual approach that actually makes sense. And hey, please don't panic if some of this jargon sounds completely foreign right now. We're going to walk through this logically, layer by layer. First up, signal versus setup trading. Second, dissecting Bollinger Bands and moving averages. Third, understanding a valid signal, known as CSK. Fourth, the best execution, which is our golden setup. And finally, the 3-candle profit rule.
All right, let's dive right into section 1, signal versus setup trading.
Okay, so we really need to tackle a foundational concept first, because this fundamental misunderstanding trips up almost every beginner out there. It's the critical difference between a market warning and a market action. Think of it like a simple traffic light. On one hand, we have your signals, things like momentum or CSK, which we'll define in just a bit. Think of a signal as your yellow traffic light. It's just a warning telling you to prepare. You never, ever enter a trade on a signal alone. Then, on the other hand, we have the setup. Things like a re-entry, MHV, or extreme. A setup is your green light. It gives you the actual permission to execute your trade. Basically, a signal just tells you that a setup is on the way.
I really want to highlight this direct takeaway from our source material because it is absolutely crucial. A signal is not a place to enter. A setup is for us to enter. Mixing up these two concepts is exactly why so many novice traders face those frustrating false entries. You know the feeling. They see this massive signal candle and immediately jump in out of FOMO, fear of missing out, only to sit there and watch the market immediately reverse. You must wait for the setup. Moving on to section 2, dissecting Bollinger Bands and moving averages.
So, how do we actually spot these on a chart? Well, let's strip away the visual noise step by step. I promise, by the end of this, you'll confidently know how to build your indicators without feeling totally overwhelmed. Let's walk through the layering process together. Step 1, add your Bollinger Bands. This gives you a top, a mid, and a low line. Step 2, add our low moving averages, specifically the MA5 and MA10. You need to set their method to linear weight, and to keep things extremely visual, color these ones red and orange. Okay, finally, step 3, add your high MA5 and MA10. Again, set them to linear weight, but color these a bright, unmistakable green. See? That terrifying spaghetti chart is actually a highly systematic filter once you assign these specific colors to the high and low lines. Now, among all those lines you just plotted, the MA5, both the high and the low, is your absolute most critical visual anchor. Our source emphasizes that we must watch these specific, brightly colored MA5 lines incredibly closely to make sense of the market's movements. They are literally the heartbeat of this entire strategy. Okay, section 3, understanding a valid signal, or CSAK. Now that our chart is built and effectively color-coded, how do we spot our trigger? Well, before we define it, I want you to ask yourself this question every single time you look at a candlestick. Where exactly does this candle close? Remember, if it's a green bullish candle, it closes at the top of the solid body. If it's a red bearish candle, it closes at the bottom of the solid body. The wicks, those thin little lines extending from the body, they do not matter at all for this rule. Only the solid body close counts. So the crucial point here is understanding the CSAK, or candlestick era cuckoo. A valid CSAK signal only happens when a candlestick's solid body cleanly closes beyond the mid-Bollinger Band and beyond all the MA5 and MA10 lines we just drew. If the body pierces the mid-BB but gets stuck inside the moving averages, not a CSAK. If it crosses the moving averages but doesn't cross the mid-BB, still not a CSAK. If it doesn't pierce through all of them, the signal simply does not exist. Period. Let's jump right into section 4, the best execution, the golden setup. Let's see how this all builds into the highly profitable A-plus execution that you've been waiting for. We have our signal. Now we need our setup. Enter the golden setup. This is the holy grail of this strategy for sure. It's defined as a powerful re-entry execution. Basically what happens is, after a valid signal pushes the market forward, the price will naturally pull back. The golden setup occurs precisely when the market pulls back, and a candlestick wick, just the wick, remember, kisses the mid-Bollinger Band.
This is an A-plus reentry with a massive win rate that you can confidently leverage.
But listen, discipline is everything here. So here is your strict checklist. First, the setup must follow a valid CSA or a momentum signal. Second, the candlestick wick must touch that mid-BB line. Third, and I am heavily emphasizing this one, no candle body can accidentally close past the MA and BB lines during this pullback. If a solid body closes across them, the setup is entirely canceled and you must abort the trade. Finally, never enter if the re-entry follows an MHV, or market Heelong volume. That's basically when the market loses momentum and fails to make a new high or low. If the volume is gone, the setup is a trap. Walk away.
And finally, Section 5, the 3-candle profit rule. Getting in is only half the battle, right? Knowing exactly what to expect keeps our emotions in check. And that expectation comes down to a single number, 3. This is the ultimate golden rule of this setup. When you enter a valid golden setup, you should expect a minimum of 3 candles of movement in your profitable direction. Not 1, not 2, but a minimum of 3 candles. This actually leads perfectly into how you schedule your trading day. Look at the contrast here. If you use the highly recommended H4 timeframe, meaning each candle represents 4 hours, that 3-candle rule means you're expecting 12 hours of profitable movement. You get massive pit potential, and you really only need to check your chart every 4 to 8 hours. Compare that to the H1 timeframe. Sure, it works, but you have to constantly monitor your screen every single hour, leading to way higher stress. The H4 timeframe pairs perfectly with a 3-candle rule to give you significant profit without chaining you to your desk. It really all comes down to patience and visual clarity. So, now that you know the critical difference between a yellow light warning signal and a green light setup, are you ready to stop chasing those false market moves? By applying this structured, color-coded visual approach, you can filter out the noise and patiently wait for your golden setup. The market will always present new opportunities. Your only job is to be disciplined enough to wait for the A+ execution. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and I really hope this transforms the way you look at your charts in your very next session.